Well, I am here to tell y'all my birth story with Judson. So here's the story of how everything went that day. Well, at that day, I can't remember exactly what happened. For sure, like in the early morning to afternoon, can't remember exactly what happened. But my mom I wanted to go run a couple errands to Walmart, but actually instead I went to go get a pedicure. So my mom got the kids, and I went to go get a pedicure because my feet were terrible. I had no clue when I was going to go into labor. So I decided, why not go get a pedicure? Why not just go relax, not overdo it, because I had been overdoing it for a little bit, and go get a pedicure. So I did. So 7 o'clock at night, right before they're closing. I know it sounds terrible, and I'm probably really terrible at doing that, but I went and got a pedicure at 7 o'clock at night. And it was graduation weekend, so it was kind of busy anyway. So I get my pedicure, and all I'm doing is sitting there like this, and I'm like, God, I just pray that this would probably help start labor, because I was just in so much discomfort from being at the end of being pregnant. And so I got moving and going from that, and I went and got the kids. Well, when I went to go get the kids, I brought them back home. I did a couple things around the house, and then I got in my robe, in my nice fuzzy robe that my mom actually got me when I was pregnant with Aowen. And so I got into my robe, and I got all nice and comfortable right after I took a bath. And I get up from the bath, and I just felt different. And I stood there for a second, and all of a sudden, I just started feeling, sadly it felt like more that I was peeing. And it was really weird. I mean, I've experienced it a couple times, because with every single one of my kids, my water's broken. So I'm just sitting there, and it's just kind of trickling, but it just keeps coming and coming, and I'm like, pretty sure my water just broke, because I started having contractions after that. And of course I was like shaking, like, I'm about to have a kid. So called my mom, told her, you'd never believe what happened. And I was like, my water broke. And she's like, you've got to be kidding. I was like, nope. And of course it was the next day was the last day of school, so she still had to work a little bit, because she's a school secretary, so she has to make sure that all the teachers sign their papers and all this stuff. So I call the doctor, and they're like, yeah, it does sound like your water broke and you're in labor. So we go out there. They take me, and of course it was after hours, because it was 11 o'clock at night. So they take me where I had to go through the ER all the way the back way to the main hospital to labor and delivery. So that was fun. So we get up to labor and delivery, and the whole time I'm laying on my side, I didn't really have any contractions. But once I got up, the contractions started again. So they monitored me, and you would not believe it, when they were taking me into the room that I was going to be in, the room number was 383. If y'all don't know this, Tyler Dawn was born at BSA Hospital in room 383. Aowen was born at BSA Hospital in room 383. And now Judson Flynn was being born at BSA Hospital in room 383. It was crazy. So I was just so excited. I was like, God, I know you're with me, because I told you that I really wanted to give birth in room 383, because that's where my other kids have been born in. One, of course, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're in a room. Two, that's actually kind of cool. it's not too far off. You hear every once in a while. 3 in the same room? That's pretty rare. And so I'm like, maybe we'll have the 4th one in 383. That would be like amazing. All 4 kids in the same room at VSA Hospital. It'd be awesome. So they strap me up to the monitors. They check me. My cervix is actually still posterior. Nothing was really going to be progressing much. I labored for a long time with no medicine as far as Pitocin or anything. They started Pitocin after about 6 hours, I believe, to try and help just the process start, because I wasn't having them regularly, but my water was broke. I felt okay. They started at 1, and you can go up to like, I think 20 on Pitocin. And I had no pain meds, I had nothing. So I went from a 1 on Pitocin to a 14 on Pitocin. So I was on 14 PIT with no pain meds. It's insane. I didn't realize how insane that was until the whole process ended. And now I'm like, okay, yeah, that's crazy. So I was putting my body into overdrive. And so after a little bit, I got some fentanyl, because I had that previously with AWIN, and it went a lot better after I got that. So I got the fentanyl. And still, mind you, this is before 18 hours of labor. So I got the fentanyl, and it makes you a little lightheaded. So I was just like trying to keep my eyes shut, trying to take a nap while I was on that fentanyl. And so I'm laying there, and then I kept getting contractions, and I kept waking up, and I kept pushing myself. And after 18 hours, they checked me. I was still at a 3. They said maybe more like a 3.5. But you have not progressed much in 18 hours. And so I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? Because in my head, I've never had this happen. So I'm thinking, crap, I'm gonna have a C-section. I mean, it's whatever's best for baby and best for me. I totally understand that, but I did not want to have a C-section. I was very emotional. And so the night nurse came and the day nurse came and checked me, and she, when she was doing that, she's like, let me check a couple other things. Like, okay. So she probably checked me for a good 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden, she hit something, and I don't know if she hit something or what exactly happened, but all of a sudden I felt this like pop and gush, and I'm like, oh, what just happened? And the nurse looked at me with like wide eyes, and she was like, do you know what just happened? She's like, I said, was there a second bag of water? She's like, yes, there was. So we're not for sure at this point, and we're still not for sure. And you know, things happen. So I'm here, Judson's here. Whatever was happening with the 2 different sacks of water was crazy. So we don't know if one of the, because the amniotic sac, I believe, is 2 layers. We don't know if just the first layer ruptured and the second 4th layer didn't. Or the other thing is, I could have been having twins. Did not know that from the beginning. And there could have been, I think it's called vanishing twin syndrome or something like that. Or basically that second baby didn't survive, and it basically just disintegrated and but left its sac. Because if They said usually it's not like this. Usually if there's something second, as far as a bag or sack of water, that it's just a sack. That it's not as much water as what you had. Yours was definitely a big, huge body of water. It was like another complete sack, which is making me think that there was that vanishing twin syndrome and I was supposed to have twins. But you know what? We'll never know until we get up to heaven. And I'm okay with it. If I was supposed to have twins, yes, I would have loved every minute of it. But we'll never know. So right as soon as that second layer or second bag ruptured, I went immediately to 4, and those contractions kicked in. My cervix was not posterior anymore and moved down to where it was supposed to be, and I was thinned out. So I'm sitting there in pain. So I went, 30 minutes later, I started feeling a lot of pressure. I was like, okay, I feel like maybe I am ready to push because of how much pressure there was. And I was at a 4. I could have went from a 4 to a 10 pretty quickly. And so the nurse came and checked me and she's like, you're only a 6, but your baby's head's in position, your cervix is down, and that's probably why you're feeling a lot more pressure. I was like, okay. So for the next few hours, I think I stayed at a 6, and I'm maybe a 7. Maybe I progressed to 7 just a little bit. So I went 22 hours. And I'm sitting there and I'm just in pain. My body's done. And I'm just... Guys, y'all share, please. So the doctor came in and he talked to me and he was like, everything's looking good, but you're just not progressing like we want it to, and I think your body's just exhausted. I'm like, I agree, I believe I am beyond exhausted. So they were like, well, why don't you think about having an epidural? Now's the time to think about it. Because your body's beyond exhaustion, and it's just going to help you get past that barrier to get your body relaxed enough for it to do what it's supposed to. And I'm like, I look at my Morgan and I'm like, I'm sorry. I've got to get the epidural. I mean, either way, if I have a C-section, I'm gonna have to get the epidural. Morgan was okay with it. I was okay with it. And I said, yeah, I'll take an epidural. And so of course, me having 2 kids naturally, I sat there and I just bawled. I was past exhaustion and I just bawled. I was like, I know this is the right thing to do, but I can't process it right now. Everything's just going on, so I'm just gonna get the epidural, we're gonna have this baby, we're gonna be good. And so the nurse was like, okay, and she came over to me, she's like, Ashley, it's okay. You're not just doing this for yourself, you're doing this for the baby. And the baby needs to be relaxed right now because we don't want y'all both to be stressed out, basically. We don't want y'all both to be exhausted. It's like, okay. She's like, let me go get the cart. I'm gonna go call the anesthesiologist and they're gonna come in and we're gonna get this done and we're gonna have a baby, okay? And it's like, okay. So I sat there for a little bit. She came back in with the cart and she's like, okay, I called the anesthesiologist and they're on their way. And I was like, how on their way are they? Because I was still in pain. And she's like, they said that they'd be in here in 30 minutes. And literally, she is over here, and she said, they'll be here in 30 minutes. I was like, okay. And literally 2 seconds later, 30 seconds later actually probably, we hear a knock on the door, and here comes the anesthesiologist. It's like, that's a quick 30 minutes. So everyone except for Morgan left. And the nurse and the anesthesiologist, of course. And so I get in the position to start getting the epidural. And I'm like, I never, ever, ever thought I'd get an epidural. Ever. But you know what? In that moment, that was the best thing I could have done. I was happy after it was all said and done. A lot of people have told me that epidurals hurt. Honestly, the epidural was better than getting the initial IV when I got into the hospital for them to do all the blood work and put the saline port in and fluids and all that stuff. So we sat there, and after he had got it all done, all taped up, I laid down, and it started working. Not immediately, but probably about a minute or two later it started working, where I could really feel it. I'm just sitting there, and the anesthesiologist was like, well, do you feel better? I was like, I think so. It's like, I think you're feeling better because you just had a contraction. I was like, oh, I did? I didn't even feel that one. So Morgan was with me. My mom came in, my sister came in, one of my best friends came in, and they're like, how are you feeling? I was like, feel pretty good. They're like, how was that contraction? I was like, huh? What contraction? I didn't feel anything. They're like, well, it is working. So I sat there, and we had the calmest, most laid back doctor ever. And sadly he retired like a week or two later after I gave birth. He was the on-call doctor, and literally he was sitting over watching the clock like this, like just watching the clock. And I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good. I mean, he did what we wanted him to. We wanted to have just a relaxed atmosphere, a very encouraging atmosphere with everything going on. I started feeling a lot of pressure. She checked me, and I was at an 8. The cart for the doctor was in there, and then they started getting me ready. They checked me again, and I was full-blown ready to go. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna do a couple practice pushes, especially since you're in the epidural and you've never had an epidural before. It's like, okay. Did a couple practice pushes, and they're like, okay, then relax it from here on out. Wait for the doctor. And all of a sudden I just felt this really major, I felt a lot of pressure. And the next thing I know, the doctor's trying to catch up with me.
Congratulations, sweetheart.
There they go. He had, my body was just pushing him out. I was like, I didn't do anything. My body's doing it all. And next thing I know, Morgan is telling me it's a boy. And I couldn't get over being happy and knowing that everything was good. Now after that, the epidural was really weird because I've never been able to not feel my feet. They're like, okay, when you can lift both your legs up, then you'd be good to go. And you can go to the restroom and you can take a bath, and we'll change your bed and everything, because at least at my hospital, you have the hospital bed, but once you get up once or twice, then they'll pull down a Murphy bed, and it's the queen size bed, and you don't have to be in that horrible hospital bed anymore. So that is the birth story of Judson Flint. I'll put up a picture here after I'm done of Judson when he was born and what he looks like now. And I'm just so happy to have this third little child into our family. It's our second boy. I'm happy and I'm blessed, and I couldn't have picked a better family for me to have, for me to choose. And I hope y'all enjoyed this. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you have not yet. I'm going to be trying to post more often. Just with everything going on, I don't want to miss life's moments that it has already thrown at me. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and have a great blessed day. Bye.